with people and the understanding of what is taking place?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I think it's taking too long for the light bulb to switch on, considering it's an age-old condition, if I may call it. I'm listening to my brother. Wow, it's amazing today we can sit on the stage and talk about this, but I'm telling you, this is not a stage matter. I did 9 schools before I could do O-level. 9. Yes, did 9 schools just to finish O-level. And it was really, really trauma. I only took my son to school, so it's my son being diagnosed as dyslexic that I realized that, oh, hold on, really? Yes, I took my son to school. So it was Rain's teacher who was telling me about Rain's condition. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, the teacher is talking to me. Then I went home to start reading about it. And, just this few seconds sitting on the stage, and look, I think it's really God's grace how we made it, or how I made it through. Because you're literally, the red pen is in your name. You're just there. I mean, we feed you 3 times a day, but well, whenever your time comes, God will call you and then you go. I was in school. I was in all the privileged schools because, fortunately, I came from an okay family. I don't have that story where we went to bed hungry or walked barefoot. No, I didn't. So I think it was really frustrating that, I did Jack and Jill, Northridge, Lyceum, Martin, the Porris, back to Northridge, Lyceum, back to Martin, the Porris, everything, and it was still not working. So the father is thinking, what more can I give you? Giving you all the privileged education. Now, my sad story is that I could teach the students in the class to pass their exams.
There you go.
But then when it gets to mine, and still the teachers couldn't recognize him. How come he's teaching the class? Like, the teacher will be on the board explaining, the class will say, I can't understand. I raise my hands. I say, can I help? Say, yeah. And then I would explain to the class what the teacher is trying to say. But on the final day, last but one on the report card. And in my day, any uncle walks in, have you vacated from school? Yeah. Has your report card come? What was the position? It was a culture. As soon as any adult came to your house, oh, why are you home? Oh, we're on vacation. Has your report card come? What is your position? And if there's 30 in the class, I'm like 27, 28, repeated so many times. So I realized that I was always going into jobs that did not require me to write, but to speak. So in marketing, sales, and everything. And before I realized I had dyslexia, sometimes I surprised myself. High-end shops. I worked for churches, I worked for Bali, I worked for Russell and Bromley, selling really high-end shoes. And at the end of the week, I'll come up top sales. And then, you're sitting in the train going home and you're thinking, but I'm not supposed to be good. I'm not supposed to be good. So how come I'm topping all these guys? They can write, they can read. But look, on the sales floor, I would floor them. Then I moved from sales to car sales, and it was phenomenal. So luckily when I realized that, look, it's a condition, I think then I started coming out of my shell. So I had a friend who always said, listen, you'd be very good in radio. And I'm thinking, I can't be good at radio. He says, no, I've listened to you. And I listened to the guys on radio. You have more depth, you are more articulate. And I know in my mind that, listen, I can't read and write, so radio is not my business. And he says, look, let me take you there. So I went to Rainbow Radio, and I proposed the topic to the radio owner, all the way back 2006. And he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, every week I'll come up with an opinion, and then I'll speak to it for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I get the audience to call in to agree or disagree with what I said. And to him, I was like, no way. What are you talking about? It won't work. I said, well, give it a try. So he said, okay, what I'll do then is, I'll let you do your monologue and go. But as far as opening the phone call for people to agree or disagree with what you have said, it's not going to happen. I said, fine. So we tried it for a few weeks. Then he said, no, I'm not going to let you do live. Now I'll come and record it and go. So I recorded 2-3 shows and they didn't play. So I thought, look, I had to drive all the way from Hemel to London to do it. It's quite a trek. So I stopped. Then to my amazement, he called and said, look, my listeners are calling me about your program, that they really want the program back. So you have to come. So I said, well, then it has to be on my terms. This time, it has to be live, and the people will have to call it. I said, okay, let's give it a shot. So I started in 2006 doing That's My Opinion. It became like the second most listened to show on the radio. So did it for 4 years, and then I came to Ghana. So when I came to Ghana, Rainbow Radio also came to Ghana. But somehow, manager's ego did not want the program back. And I was thinking, look, this was one of our best talk shows. So why don't you want it? He says no. I went to Joy FM, which is like one of the most powerful radio stations. And because of handwriting business and stuff like that, I like them. I like to meet people and talk to them. But I don't know if I write and give it to you, they won't be. If I meet you, I can convince you. So I tried. I dropped like 2 letters, they binned it, I'm sure. And then eventually through Ghana, somebody who knows Percy True. So I got a 5 minutes with Percy True, and that's all I did. I need 1 minute. So when I had a face-to-face with Percy True, he says, what can you bring on my radio station? He said, have you seen any empty slot? He says, no. I said, but I still have something you would want. So I remember he said, so what would you do on this? That's my opinion. What sort of topic would you bring? And I said, I'll put Abraham on trial. He says, for what? I said, for child abuse. Crime has no expiry date. He says, you were very frustrated, man. You need an hour. So he called management and said, listen, give this guy a slot. He has a lot of things to vent out. And for nearly 10 years, every week, I script, even though nobody knows what I've scripted, but I script my own. Because I know what gibberish I've written. I can read it out. I script it and come and week in, week out, I believe I've been able to put out, thought-provoking topics. And Joy is, the high end of radio, very discerning listeners. And so you can't go there without researching. You can't just go and just talk off the cuff and go. You must, go there, your stuff before you go. And so once upon a time, I did a show and then told them that, listen, I'm really, really dyslexic. I mean, I don't, even though you listen to my radio show, it's like I'm talking off the cuff. No, I'm reading script word for word. Even where I have to laugh, I indicate on the script. And here, you have to laugh. Where I have to shout, I write it in red. That, look, here you have to raise your voice. So I'm really going through a script. But listening, it's just as though I'm talking to you as I'm doing now. But that's how I script my show, week in, week out. And I think it has worked. So I did a show to convince people that, listen, your wards may be going through these challenges, but believe you me, my strength is ability to see things from an angle everybody else has missed. So it could be a normal news. So it could be a normal news, and everybody would be, oh, this guy is corrupt, this guy is corrupt, this guy is corrupt. I'm the one who comes and says, look, corruption is the one that saved the world. So that would be my argument. And I would put in convincing argument for you to know that it's not corruption that actually brought some good. Just to thought provoke and make the show exciting. So I realized, well, if that's my strength, why not? So I find myself in Chieftaincy, and combining Chieftaincy and radio. Most people see me and ask me, how do you combine Chieftaincy and Christianity? But I find Chieftaincy and media more difficult. Because as a media man, I have no shield, I have no boundary, nothing. As a chief, I am very, very protected. And so switching between the two. So just tell a little story. I mean, as a chief, under no circumstance would you put your fingers in my food. No circumstance. It would never happen. But as a media man, walking in the newsroom with tidbits, and somebody just comes and puts it, and it takes it, second, okay, no, it's okay here. It's okay here.
Don't execute him. Don't execute him.
It's okay here. So I find, being in the media and being chief, a very difficult switch, even though I think I've done it seamlessly.
but chieftaincy and Christianity is just very easy. But that's been my journey. You know, it's not been easy at all. Today you can sit on the stage, talk about it, and have a laugh.
Yesterday I sent this thing on broadcast with my WhatsApp, and then my English professor, because I went to university when I was 40, and I only did it because Ghanaians are very obsessed with degrees, and so no matter how eloquent you are, they needed a degree. So I said, well, let me go and do marketing. And I'm telling you, all throughout the marketing class, I thought they were like 25 years behind what the world was doing in marketing, but I had to endure. So I wrote to the school to say, listen, I cannot write in small letters. So you really have to, bear with me, please. And they said, okay, fine. So when I sent it out, she's on her broadcast list. I said, Nana, do you remember you only wrote in capital letters? And then it says, and they are not visible, however sensible. It says, take your time to read, and one will realize it makes sense. But brush it off, and it kills one's motivation to aspire higher. That's how I saw you during university days. So that was funny. She was one of the ones who gave me a hard time. I'm sure she realized after I had left. Well, when I became chief, one of the things that I'm very passionate about education, I think because of the stigma of what I went through. And I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. So I realized that in the urban areas, averagely by 5, they start putting words together. And then in the rural areas, 7, 9, before they start putting words together. And so I was thinking, why should the geographical location of the school determine what age somebody reads or not? But then I didn't know how, but that's the good thing. Once you dream, sometimes it happens. You just have to have the dream. So I got a call from a company called Johnny Phonics. And they said, well, Nana, we've seen you and heard you championing education and all that, so we could help. So yeah, come along. So they came, and miraculously, the children in Edumasa from KG could put 2 sounds together and start. I thought it was normal, until Anis Hafa, who's the educationist, came to train my teachers on how to prepare notes. And when they came back to the palace for assessment, he told me how impressed he was that he'd gone to a rural area and in KG, people could start putting sounds together and putting words together. The parents are more of a challenge than the children when you go to the rural areas. Those who need the great help are not the children, but the parents. So I'm very close to the school. Even though it's a public school, I look at it and treat it as though it's a private school. And anytime we have a meeting with the teachers, the frustration is that parents never come to the school to check up what's happening, even though it's just a walking distance. I always tell the teachers that if it was an orphanage, who would you have expected to come and see the kids? And what would you have done? So do that. Because after all, you've been posted here to teach, and teach you must. And as a teacher, in a few years' time, you should walk into banks, hospitals, and institutions, and you meet people who you impacted, who then pay you back. So if you're sitting here waiting for parents who never come, you would have wasted your time.
Yes.
So in the rural areas, it's twofold. Either there's a major adult education program to see the essence of a school, or the teachers should really pick the children as though they are theirs. I know you've gone to an orphanage and they don't have any, mother, father coming from anywhere and give them your home. I mean, I do that in my jurisdiction, and I do it very, very well. I do unannounced visit. I treat the school as though it's mine. Yeah, I treat it as though it was mine. I mean, I would refuse certain teachers to even teach in the school. Yes, because they showed some funny, behavior towards their children. I said, no, I won't allow it. And if you're a chief and you haven't concerned yourself with the school, you may miss it. With them, those of us in the rural areas will realize that when they get to the adolescent age, it's a major hassle for the teachers. Really, I mean, they are at war. When they leave primary school,
the drop from primary school to JSS is so significant. And the relationship between the teachers and the students is like really poisonous. And so if you're not there, always pushing, the teachers just, you know what, it's only going to be 3 years, you're going to be out. I wait for the next lot. So on that level, maybe those who are the education should come in and help us in terms of what psychologists the teachers should know to help, with the dealing with the adolescents. But other than that, I think it's about my pay grade. It's really about my pay grade. I'm playing my part in my small village, but maybe all chiefs and traditional rulers should also play their part in their village, because in Adumasa, you treat everybody as equal. I remember I walked in the class, and the teachers had brought those who were clever in front, because they were not wasting his time, and those who were not so clever at the back. And I said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Those who need more help should be in front, and then those who don't need help should be in the back. And so we changed it. I said, look, you must spend time. It doesn't care if it's 100 years. Why do you come here to teach? Why are you in a hurry to go? You're here to teach. So I just urge, those in authority within localities to be very, very, very close to the schools. Then again, there are people who may be in authority who are not dyslexic, so don't know that there are children in the class that are struggling. And I always tell this story that I had a little farm, and my peppers never grew. I mean, corn, okra, everything. This is a true story, And anytime I grew peppers, they just didn't grow. And then I realized the soil wasn't good for the pepper. I mean, everything else was fine. It's just that the peppers were not good for the soil. So there are children in the class who the teaching methods don't suit.
Doesn't suit.
Yeah, it doesn't suit.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean they are, I don't, I don't think there's no such thing as a useless child. Honestly, 1000%, there's no such thing as a useless child. Judging from where I come from to now, and ironically, all the schools that kicked me out, today, if there's any function, they will write to me, they will call me, can you just come and pass through? We want everybody to see you are a product. I said, really? I said, really? So there's no such thing as a useless child. And success has many friends. So you just have to be successful when you get your friends. So parents, adult education should be brought back.
Yes.
So that they realize the need for the child to be in school.
Continuously.
Yeah, because they're more of a problem than the children.
Amen.
Really, yeah. So I think that's my take.
Oh.